Hello my friends, welcome back to another video, or if you're new here, welcome in. My name is Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today's video is going to be a spoiler-free review of The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan, which is the first book in the Empire of Wolf trilogy. This was one of my most anticipated releases for this year. Kind of sounded similar to another book that I picked up last year and I absolutely loved. So I really wanted to kind of pick it up and give you a spoiler-free review. But before we jump into it, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss out on another adventure. But we'll begin with the premise and what is going on in this first book. The empire of the wolf simmers with unrest. Rebels, heretics, and powerful patricians all challenge the power of the imperial throne. Only the Order of Justices stand in the way of chaos. Sir Conrad von Volt is the most feared justice of all, upholding the law by way of his sharp mind, arcane powers, and skill as a swordsman. At his side stands Helena Sedanka, his talented protege, orphaned by the wars that forged the empire. When the pair investigates the murder of a provincial aristocrat, they unearth a conspiracy that stretches to the very top of the imperial society. As the stakes rise and become ever more personal, von Volt and Helena must make a choice. Will they abandon the laws they've sworn to uphold in order to protect the empire? And that takes you right into the first book, The Justice of Kings. And that premise might be a little bit deceiving. It was to me, because when I initially heard that, I thought that I would be following the perspective of von Volt on this investigation into this murder of this noblewoman. But you actually follow Helena's perspective, her first-person account from the future, as she's kind of telling how she came to be with von Volt, this whole investigation, and then where it's kind of leading to with the kind of upheaval of the empire. So you just follow her account rather than von Volt. And I think that really added to the mystery of von Volt, because he's very kind of stoic and quiet. He kind of keeps his emotions in control, and he's very moral. He believes in kind of order and following the rules so that everyone kind of gets a fair shot. So it definitely adds kind of to his mystery, especially surrounding kind of like his powers and everything that he has. He's a very interesting character, and I think following Helena's perspective on this kind of the events that are occurring as she's kind of becoming a justice herself, I think it just added to the story as well. I had some initial thoughts before picking this up. It sounded very similar, like I mentioned, to The Helm of Midnight by Marina J. Lotsetter that I picked up last year and absolutely loved. And I think if you do enjoy this one, definitely give that one a try, because while they did feel similar, like they stood apart from each other and they both stood in their own spotlights. And like The Helm of Midnight, this one kind of left off, like you solved the mystery, kind of figured it out, but it also left it open for just more to come in the future. Especially with The Justice of Kings, you definitely see just where this crew of justices, these inquisitors, are going to go in the future. So I feel like with The Helm of Midnight, it definitely it felt more conclusive than The Justice of Kings. Like you definitely kind of felt like it's similar to, I haven't read these, but from other reviews I've heard that it's kind of similar to the Dresden Files, where you kind of solve this mystery and the next book is kind of picking up, but it's all leading towards like a larger plot. So you definitely got like a conclusion. So if you didn't enjoy this as much, I feel like you could just stop here and just go from there, but it definitely left it open for more. And I'm very excited to see where Richard Swan goes with this. I believe it's planned to be a trilogy, but it felt very approachable, and for a debut, I thought that the writing, the prose, and just the plot in general was fantastic. And I think Richard Swan has got a bright future ahead in this genre, and I'm very excited to see how this series progress, as well as kind of what comes in the future for him. As far as kind of world building, I felt like it was done very well. It wasn't kind of like info dumpy. Like you definitely got some parts where I was just kind of zoning out, but for the most part, it just flowed with the story. Like they would go to this town, kind of give a little background into kind of the investigation and how their powers and stuff like that impacted their work as justices and inquisitors, but as well as kind of the history along the way. There wasn't just like, in the beginning, here's everything, this is how it happened, and then let's go with the plot. Like it just flowed as you learned with the characters, as Helena kind of accounted this. And I think following her first person description also added to kind of the story as well, and just the world building, because she comes from kind of like living in the slums and having to fight to survival, and being kind of taken under Von Volt's wing as a justice, a clerk. Like, you definitely see how she's kind of just seeing all this world for the first time, and you see like how she's kind of learning as well, growing. So just added another level. And then as well as kind of with the magic, I found the magic very intriguing and interesting, but it was also very mysterious, because we didn't get much explanation, because Von Volt is currently the only one with these magical powers. And so Helena is kind of accounting what she knows, and you see Von Volt kind of use his powers, and you definitely get a little bit of just information about it. But I feel like Richard Swan will kind of expand more on the magic system in the future. Like, I really enjoyed kind of the elements that it brought to this mystery and trying to solve this murder, as well as kind of the other powers that the Justices have. Like, they all kind of specialize in different fields, and you can definitely see how Richard Swan's background as a lawyer kind of impacted into the story. There's like a whole court scene, but as well as kind of the Justices kind of specializing in different fields and having different powers to help them in their investigations. I thought that was so cool. And I'm eager to see how kind of Von Volt's powers kind of progress in the future. I really want to learn more about kind of this order and how they kind of control the flow of magic, and especially with this first book, like the way that it ended, like the kind of the order, like it mentioned in the blurb, like the Empire's kind of in upheaval. The one thing that I was kind of bummed about was just the overall kind of expansion of the Empire. Like, I feel like within this first book we only focused on a couple towns, and for the most part, like, they are centered in this one specific place trying to solve this murder. So you definitely don't see much of the expanded kind of world that Richard Swan has kind of created. But I feel like the way that this one ended, it was just kind of like setting the scene, and kind of Helena kind of telling the tale initially, but it will kind of be expanded further on, similar to all the other aspects in the future books. I felt all the characters were really fleshed out, except for maybe Bressinger. I feel like he was kind of just like in the background a little bit, and it kind of focused more on Helena and Von Volt. But Helena, as kind of being young and stubborn and just kind of learning all these things. I believe she's like 19 in this first book, so she's considered, she was young, and she's learning, kind of experiencing the world and traveling and learning with Von Volt. And you definitely see like a paternal racial relationship between Von Volt and Helena, and I like that kind of development throughout. There was a couple parts that I didn't kind of agree with, but other than that, like, I just enjoyed their relationship, and I'm excited to see how that kind of grows in the second and third books. There was also a little bit of an insta-love kind of romance between Helena and a different character that I wasn't a big fan of, but because she's young, it's kind of to be expected. But as far as kind of Von Volt, I found that he was the most interesting character to me, because of just all these powers and the power that he has as a justice, as well as kind of just his past. Like, you definitely see a little bit of his past kind of fleshed out as he's kind of talking about how, like, he was a soldier, and then how he got into kind of being a justice, and then just like his skills and everything about like just him in general. I found very interesting. And like I mentioned, like, he is very kind of stoic, and he kind of keeps his cool for the most part, and he just kind of believes in the order of the system, following the rules and everything like that. But I felt like his kind of moral decline in this first book was really well done by Richard Swan, because like he just makes some drastic changes, and I feel like towards the end of the book, I feel like he's going to be continuing on in the second book. So I'm curious to see how like his new decisions and the way that his new mindset is going to kind of carry forth in the further books. As far as kind of Bressinger, I just wish I kind of like, he definitely gets some of his past, as he's kind of been he fought alongside Von Volt in the kind of the war, but I really wanted more from him. I feel like he was kind of just in the background a lot, and I was hoping for more from him. But I feel like he was mostly focusing on Helena and Von Volt. There wasn't much that I really disliked about this book. I felt like for a debut, it was absolutely outstanding. And just like the only thing I was hoping for was just more from Von Volt and Bressinger, because there was a part during the story where Helena kind of went and did her own thing, and I was wanting to learn more about kind of what Von Volt was doing, because it just how intriguing and captivating he was. I just wanted to learn more about what he was doing. So I don't know, like I kind of wanted it to be from Von Volt's perspective, but also following Helena. Like I just really enjoyed how she's kind of recounting this tale. So it's really not that big of a deal because I enjoyed both of them as characters. There was only a couple times where it was kind of slow and a slog to get through, but for the most part, like it just continued upward until the climax. Like it would just continue to build, and as they continued to learn more on this mystery, I had a feeling I knew who and what was going on. So I wasn't in for the murder mystery or anything like that. I was just in for kind of the characters and just their development, as well as kind of these powers and the world building and everything like that. So I just really enjoyed that. And like the murder mystery was still intriguing, and it kind of kept me guessing, had a little bit of twists and turns along the way. So overall, like I just really enjoyed this. I ended up giving this 4 stars, and I have a feeling that the sequel books are going to be even better. The conclusion of this book was kind of what I was hoping for. I felt like as the kind of story progressed, like it was definitely building up for like this final scene that I kind of won't say more about without spoiling it, but just like that last couple chapters or so was just the best part of the book in my opinion. Like I enjoyed kind of the ride and the kind of the intrigue and just the development of the characters, but I felt like the conclusion was probably the best, and where it kind of left off with the characters and kind of their situation and state, as well as kind of the state of the Empire and what's kind of going to come in the future. So definitely left it open for a lot to come, and I'm very excited to see the sequels in this series, as well as what Richard Swan kind of comes out with the future. But that is going to be all for the spoiler-free review. If you have read this and you did enjoy it, please let me know down in the comments below. But that is going to be all from me, and it is time for Ellie to come on here and first wish you all to have a splendid day. But she also says that adventure is out there. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.